everybody. It's Lise and Nikki with Talk to Me Sis. Welcome back to another week, another episode. And I'm really quick. I'm going to hand it over to you, Nikki, so you can explain what we're up to this week.
Okay, I will be glad to. Y'all, Lisa and I feel like we have been on the hamster wheel. It's not a bad hamster wheel, but our lives have taken a fast forward jump, and we are both running in many, many, many different directions. And we're having a lot of really fun things. We're having a lot of really intense things going on. And we realized that we are receiving the most beautiful, just unbelievable, heartfelt amount of messages from you all, the listener. And we are both feeling this huge need to reach out and connect with the audience. We are so grateful for the support. We are so grateful for the interaction. It means the world to both of us. We have both been making an effort to answer as many as we can. I have a weird thing about not answering texts or emails. It makes me feel like a bad person. I feel like when someone reaches out to you, you should answer. And neither one of us has had time to actually sit down and comb through every one of them, but that is our intention. So our intentions for today are just to say, okay, we've given you guys a lot of backstory. We've heard from the brothers, we've heard from the sisters, we've heard from the dads. I feel like everybody knows a lot more about Tanner and Connor's story and about our backstories as individual women and as moms. And now you guys are starting to tell us your stories, and we love it. It is the reason we started this thing. So we kind of at random each picked 4 or 5 DMs, and this is just how we're going to start, like the answering back. We will definitely, if yours didn't get picked, we are definitely going to try to send you a response within the next several weeks. We will do our best to do that for you. But we just felt like today we needed to slow our roll for the previously scheduled programming, take a minute, and just connect with everybody who has taken their time to send us these wonderful, heartfelt messages, which really do mean so much to us. So that is the purpose of today. After we go through the DMs, we do have a couple other things we want to touch on, and we will wrap up with those things. But first, we want to share with all the listeners what y'all have been sharing with us. So, Lisa, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Well said, Nikki. And yes, thank you. And again, you have to appreciate as well, obviously, with the timing, season 3 has come out and the complete love and support that you've shown both of our families. We are very grateful, and the love and support you've shown our sons, more importantly than us. We're just really grateful. And so trying to just connect with everybody that is just feeling so inspired to reach out and talk to us. So absolutely, we're really excited to reach out and talk to you guys. And I'm going to have to read off of my phone because I didn't have access to a printer. I tried when I went through the messages to, it's kind of obvious if you're reaching out to me or Nikki or one in particular, or both. And I really wanted to try to pepper in different situations because I just want to show the depth and the array of what different families look like that are reaching out to us. And it's just been beautiful. So with that being said, I'm going to dive into my first one. It's a long message, and it's not often we hear from the dads or a man. We're getting a lot of moms and young women. But this one stood out to me because it's a dad. We just had our dad's episode, which was so well received. So thank you. So he does apologize for being so long-winded in his message. I'm just going to call him Colin H, just to protect his privacy. So Colin H wrote to Nikki and I, and he starts off apologizing. First off, apologies for the borderline novel of a message. My wife and I have 3 sons, all on the spectrum. We have an 8-year-old who was diagnosed first at the age of 4. We then had twins who are now 5 and were diagnosed a few years ago. Even though we fully support our sons, I have always had issues watching any TV or film depicting autistic people. I always tried to stay as positive as possible, but I have always found myself feeling very overwhelmed or down when watching stories of those on the spectrum. Having said that, my wife and I have been watching both the Australian and the US versions of Love on the Spectrum from the beginning. It was really the one show that was so positive and enjoyable. And most importantly, I felt gave us a sneak peek at where our kids could be years from now. And we particularly loved Connor and Tanner. I just discovered your new podcast. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. One of the hardest things to deal with has always been feeling like the struggles we go through won't ever get better. For example, our oldest son has been an escape artist since before he could really talk. Most terrifying, he was escaping from his school multiple times a week, even though he had one-on-one support. One time, my wife was out walking our son, who was only six at the time. One time, my wife was out walking, and our son, who was only six at the time, came up behind her several blocks from our house. He had snuck away from his EA, and he also happens to be so fast that he ran a kilometer in less than 6 minutes in only socks before the school even realized he'd gotten out of the building. This is scary. The odds of him even coming across my wife in public were so astronomical that only God could have been responsible for keeping him safe and finding her. When we had the twins diagnosed, we were worried we would end up in the same struggles multiplied times 3. In the end, the twins were not nearly the flight risks that our oldest were, although they have had their other struggles, but also other successes. I love the positivity. There were 2 things that were said in your first podcast that were so important to hear. The first was dealing with the feeling of why me. I remember a family friend telling us once that God made us parents to help advocate and raise awareness. The other thing was how people watching TV don't necessarily see the 20 years of struggle before your kids got to where they were. As our oldest is getting close to turning 9, and so many of those things are still so hard for us and for him, it's really important to hear and see that things could get easier. We're absolutely in love with watching Tanner and Connor and imagining our boys being there one day. So I just wanted to let you know you've found a listener for life. For myself, I've recently become not only I've, I've recently become big on not only hearing stories from other parents, but sharing our story as well. I have actually worked in podcasts for years and recently debated doing one on parenting children on the spectrum. I had started writing what I hoped would be a book on our stories and even worked on writing songs from the point of view of how our kids think. When you both said you were only experts on Connor and Tanner, that made so much sense. I think is the most important story to tell. It's actually what my wife and I have been telling ourselves all the years about being experts on our kids. We can't wait to hear more of your show. Thanks for doing it. And he says, full stop. Oh. Colin, thank you for sharing that. Wow, you guys have a lot on your plate. And the story of your son eloping and getting away from the school is frightening, terrifying. I really hope that obviously you've got things in place now where that's no longer the case. But thanks for sharing that. That was a long story, and we appreciate it. And I'm glad, if nothing else resonated with our stories, is I guess the 3 things for me, Nikki, is the why me and the why not me. You know, who better? I think he did say who better, and I skipped over it. And the glimpse of the 20 years ahead, and also the acknowledgement to Nikki and I that you're looking at edited versions of our son and nobody is seeing the 20 years of hard work that our families put in. So thanks for acknowledging that. And also, I'm just grateful that you have a glimpse of the possibilities. And I just was really moved by your message, Colin. So thank you. And thank your wife and your beautiful sons.
That was amazing. Loved that one.
It's amazing. Nikki, do you have one you want to share?
I do. So, in combination with reading this DM, I'm also going to shout out a couple other autism moms because it's in the message. The sender of this message is Pat. I'm just going to say her first name. And Pat writes, at the Channing's Joy Walk, little sidebar here, if you have not ever looked, and her son Channing has autism, They live in North Carolina. And Lauren and one of her dear friends, Tara Reynolds, they also have an Autism Mom podcast. And they both have sons who are nonverbal and about 8 and 9 years old. So they have a different perspective. They're at a different season than Lisa and I are, but their podcast is called Our First Rodeo. So I'm shouting them out too, because I'm all about lifting up other women. So they are a great follow. Go listen to them if you haven't. But back to Pat. Pat says, at the Channing's Joy Walk, I was telling several moms who also have neurotypical children about your podcast and how they have to listen to it, and especially the ones about siblings. They were expressing such emotional worries about their other children. I'm anxious to hear their responses. But anyway, I got on a plane a few hours later and ordered a Coke Zero. Here's what they brought me. And she sent me a picture of the Coke can with the word sis on it. And I did post that on our stories the other day. So immediately I thought God is giving me his approval that I passed on this recommendation. I wrote back to her, oh my gosh, Pat, this is amazing. And yes, I think it's a sign. Please let us know what they thought. Thank you for sharing this story. She said the feedback I got was one of gratitude. It brought them peace, serenity, less fear. They still have plenty of mom guilt, but in a much less intense form. All good things. Keep going. We need you. And I'm speaking for myself, and Lise can add on. That's why we're doing this podcast. That's why we brought our other typical children on to share their lens and to talk about what it has been like to be an autism sibling. That right there. So that these younger moms who have children who are on the spectrum and off can look at our young adults and realize that there is a full circle moment. There is going to be hope. Everything's going to come around and work for good in its own way. And it just might look a little different. This meant so much to me. I mean, that just, it really, I was like, it was very vulnerable to bring our other kids on. And it was a big ask of them. And that just made my heart swell to hear that made some younger moms feel better about things and feel a little bit of renewed energy to go on. So that was a really special one to me.
Absolutely. And it's funny because separate, I bought Coke Zero that had the cis can. And so I don't know if you are on our socials, but I took a picture with the cis can too. I love Coke for this. I love it.
Yeah, I love it too.
So that's amazing. And thank you for recommending, especially with our other children and their episodes, because that's a big ask. And I don't know how much Maverick and my Ben love being in the
Right.
mix, but they're out there to support and educate and help enlighten. And the fact that, we were scared. Actually, I was scared a little bit to have them on, Nikki, because I was nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to hear what they're really about to say?
Mm-hmm.
And I was pleasantly surprised. So I'm glad the sibling episodes have helped, at least make you feel less guilty. We're always going to go to bed doing something, right? Feeling bad. Okay, I have another one. I like this one. I love too. Oh gosh, this sweet woman. Where is she? She is it, hold on. It is, okay. I'm just going to say her first name is Kia. So Kia, this was her message to us. So glad I found this podcast. I absolutely love on the spectrum. I have had custody of my grandson since he was 2 months old. He is now 3. His autism evaluation is on the 18th of this month. Well, she's in the thick of it, fam. I raised 3 girls as a single mom. I am now going another round raising a little boy as a single grandparent. It's been a scary road, lots of unknowns with very little support and lots of worries and fears. Watching the show has given me hope on my grandson's future. I have felt so inadequate and I have been struggling with burnout at work and at home. I will continue to be my grandson's voice and biggest advocate. I don't know, Kia. You're amazing. You're
Yes.
amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. A badass single mom growing with your own children, and then any grandparent stepping into that full-time parenting role, neurotypical, whatever, massive. massive commitment. And now you're dealing with a potential autism diagnosis. So feel all the feelings. I mean, we're just here for you. And I just hope any little nuggets of what we've said and what we've felt and what we're going through along the way can help. And don't suffer quietly. Please reach out for help. Reach out to your community. Um, Please keep us abreast of your grandson's diagnosis journey and also um, his progress, because we're praying for you and lifting you up. Kia, thank you for sharing that. Just single mom, grandparent, newly diagnosed process just really hit a lot of the places for me.
Yeah, I those are the people that we really need to hear from and support and lift up and celebrate. Those are the real MVPs right there. That's incredible. Okay. All right. So my next DM was from somebody named Nikki with 2 Ks. And she said, "Hi, ladies. I'm so grateful for you both doing this podcast. Also, so grateful that Love on the Spectrum has put autism in the spotlight in a way it should have always been. I am both a mother and a sister of someone on the spectrum. My brother, who is about to be 54 and is currently in a nursing home, is on the spectrum. Back then, as I was told, she says he's 7 years older than her, they didn't know what he was. I remember kids calling him the R word and stupid. Even though I was his little sister who fought with him often, I would defend him every time. He was annoying to me, yes. We fought constantly, yes, but he was still my brother. I think he is the reason I got my degree in social work and why I am the person I am today, always wanting to advocate for the underdog. Right now, he is in a nursing home facility because he can't walk and take care of himself anymore. I am saying this because the system failed him and my mother was not able to put up the fight or the strength that you two have for your boys. There is so much of what you two beautiful ladies have that I wish existed back when my brother was young. To this day, he is ashamed of what he is, never understanding that his mind is beautiful. And I know that the two of you are helping change that for future kids. I am so grateful for you two. Your light shines so bright. Thank you so much for what you do. I'm not going to cry reading that. I've been really emotional about a lot of things in the last in the last week. And that's a topic, talking with the families of people on the spectrum who have much more profound needs and who are at a different level, a different category than Tanner and Connor are. That is a part of the autism discussion, autism conversation that I personally feel strongly about diving into. I think that it is incredibly important that Lisa and I give a voice to some parents who are literally buried under their children's needs, and that we let people hear what their day to day life is like and what their families have gone through. And I think it is just such a wake up call when you get a message like that, just to be mindful of being compassionate of everyone's journey and that everyone is experiencing a completely different reality. And autism is such an incredibly broad spectrum. And it's a very nuanced, kind of confusing thing in these times. It really is. And one of the things I hope that we can do in this podcast is gain some clarity, but more than that, compassion and kindness and understanding and learning to listen and get to know people and be quiet and understand their story before we judge or make or have any opinion about their life and what they do, because we really don't know each other's story until you stop and listen. So Nikki, thank you for sharing that with us. I am honestly, when I get a message like that, I almost don't feel worthy of someone who has put in that kind of work, because that situation is harder than what I have been through. I am not saying that what I have gone through is not hard. It was very hard, but there's always degrees. And so that was very vulnerable of her to share, and it meant a lot to me.
Honor you. We want you to feel seen and more importantly heard, because your story of your brothers, even just the timing of your brothers. So if he's 54, I'm
Right.
53. So we were
Yeah.
born in the early 70s.
Yes.
Yeah, I can imagine the lack of even just diagnostic process and placement and tools and anything to support your mom and all of that, and just and where he is today, and you're a gift to him. Nikki, as far as I'm concerned, and letting him see his beautiful mind. And again, it's just all of this is the just want to see everybody's position and journey and where they are and respect them and hear them. And you're
Uh-huh.
right, Nikki, just sit in some quietness and listen and try to understand from a loving place. So with that, I mean, my next message, the reason I picked it, I kind of had a reason why I picked each one. There were so many, it was so hard. And Nikki and I had to limit ourselves because none of us have, we wish we had all the time to sit and read all of them. But this next one I chose kind of because I thought it was so interesting. I thought it was so interesting and on a lot of reasons, for a lot of reasons. Let me see if I can locate her. Let's see. Yes, here she is, Erica. Okay, I chose Erica's message before I get into it. My glasses on. I chose Erica's message because she's 23. She does not have any kids. I don't believe she even has a person on the spectrum in her life, but she's here. She's here for us. She's in this. She's listening to us. And why I love Erica and I love that she's here is we aren't going to get everybody autism awareness. We understand. I think people are aware. It's the acceptance piece. And it's the acceptance piece across the board for all levels and all people wherever they are at. And that's not going to happen until people like Erica take some interest to learn and expand and figure out who are these people and what are their lives like. These are the people. As far, I'll read you the message, but I this is why I chose her. Okay, so that's sort of the message because there were so many other personal messages, but I chose Erica because thank you, Erica, for caring and coming in here. Hi, ladies. I've listened to all 4 episodes today and really wanted to reach out and tell you that I love your content and I find you both so inspirational and lovely. I'm 23 years old. She's a kid. Yeah, like you're the age of my twins. So 23 years old, you're a young woman. Um, and I live in Toronto with no kids. So I'm not your target audience at all. But I think you're both so interesting. And the way you look at the world with such positivity and light after you went through your individual struggles to be extremely motivational and beautiful. The two of you just bring so much light and wonderful energy. And it really gives me hope and faith for my future. I think you are great role models, and I would be glad to become a woman like you both. I didn't mean for this to be weird or too long. I'm just glad to have found this content that brings such positivity and hope to young women, and I'm really excited for your next episodes. I mean, Erica, you could be out there watching the silliest whatever that I think my kids are out there watching and TikToking and melting your brain, and you're here with us. Erica, thank you for caring. Thank you for showing up here. Thank you for seeing our kids. And thank you for, you know what? I wish I was you at 23, Erica, because
Uh-huh.
you're so alive and awake and looking around at people around you and wanting to learn more and caring. And that's going to make all the difference for the Tanners, the Connors, my Collins kids. Um,
Absolutely.
his grandson, like people like you are starting to care. You're going to care about your coworkers who are neurodivergent. You're going to care about the person on the street because you're spending time in here with us and you have really no reason to be. And I'm just grateful to you, Erica. So thank you.
That is amazing. That is
I was impressed by her.
I am so impressed. That is really an incredible compliment. Thank you, Erica. Okay, I printed mine out. I cut this. This is a gentleman. I cut his username off. I'll try to DM him and let him know that his and maybe we can tag him somewhere when the clips from this one go up. At least this is one we're both going to need to answer, and we can make this really long. But I'm just going to give concise answers for the sake of this episode. Um, and maybe we'll expound on these in longer terms later in another episode. But and I think some of these things have been covered for but people that are maybe listening to us for the first time today. He asked several questions. He said, what has employment looked like for your kids? um, Tanner graduated from Clemson Life, which is an independent living and job skills preparedness program at Clemson University. He did several internships, and they actually did a lot of on-the-job training. And he now works in hospitality at the Shepherd Hotel in Clemson. And he works anywhere from 25 to 40 hours a week. It just depends. Um, and that is, and he is, and when he's not doing things for Love on the Spectrum, that is where you can find him working, and he is gainfully employed. Lisa, you want to talk about Connors?
Sure. Connor went to really quick public high school. Didn't have a lot of support on the back end of that once we graduated. So Connor's work journey was a journey. In a quick nutshell, he got a job right out of high school that was an absolutely inappropriate, horrible fit. He only had me and my family helping him navigate, and we placed him in a situation where he was around people who just were very not trained to be around people that had differences. And Connor had a very negative experience and was bullied and
Mm.
went into a little bit of a depression. So our employment situation did not come without some battle scars. And it was,
Mhm.
I obviously wore them as well because I felt like it was just, I thought I was picking a really good place for him and a cool job. And I scratched the needle on the record, burned. It was bad. It was a horrible placement. And he was unhappy. We then switched gears and he went into a grocery store, and he is actually a customer service or courtesy clerk at a local grocery store, and he loves it. He loves it. Um, he doesn't want to even, he's been offered the opportunity to change in roles and go into like the register or a different department. He just loves his role and what he does there. And he loves interacting with the customers, and he likes to have time in the parking lot and do the store sweeps. He's very, very happy there. So when Connor's not on Netflix, he is very happy in his job. And what's funny is in all of this, Connor said, I don't want my life to change. He's made friends, connections. He's really found a home in a really healthy place and in a company that is designed and trained and cares about these individuals. And the management I'm grateful to, and some of the older staff. Connor just feels so happy and good to go to work. So um, the employment journey for Connor was a bit bumpy, but we got in a good place in the end. And Connor works about 35 hours a week, and he's loving his life.
This same messenger also asked about if the boys drive, and we'll both answer it. Tanner does not drive. Now, we live on some acreage. We live in rural South Carolina. He loves to drive our little Polaris, which is like a little Jeep type vehicle. And he can actually drive the pickup trucks on the property, not on the roads. Nobody get worried. Um, he understands how to operate the vehicle safely. He knows how to accelerate and brake and put it in park and da 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 da. With us, what concerns us is Tanner does have a lot of tendencies towards anxiety, and also just like the judgment calls in driving and the anticipation of what another driver might do. And also, one thing that we are very concerned about is if another driver goes off script, which they do all the time, how would that affect him and how would he react to that? And as much for, and obviously we are most concerned with his safety and his stress level and also the safety of everyone else. We have just felt like it's not a wise decision. Although people say, well, is he capable? Yeah, he is capable of operating the vehicle. And Tanner does not seem upset by that. And he lives in a very walkable town. He understands how to use public transportation and Uber. And he doesn't really voice any concern about it. So, and if he really genuinely expressed a huge desire to take the jump, of course, we would follow his lead. But at this point, he has not expressed that desire. So, no, he does not drive. Lisa?
Yep, same. Really, just a lot of the same reasons. We don't live in a rural area. We live in Metro Atlanta, in a very busy, congested suburb of northern Atlanta with a lot of traffic, a lot of construction, road construction, house construction, just a lot of activity where we live. And you know, Connor still lives at home with me. I'm able to take him to work, but Connor's very capable of using ride share services. Our county actually has a wonderful service that they he gets a driver ID, and they deploy Uber and Lyft if it's during the week and during certain hours, and they only charge $2 a ride because Connor, with his role, was only making so much money, and his paycheck was almost going to pay for his drives home. But having said that, we had a great resource in our county that helps. So no, Connor doesn't drive for many of the same reasons with Tanner. It's more in our area. There's a lot of distracted driving. Every time I look down, someone's in their phone. I wouldn't want Connor to dysregulate if someone bumped into him. And then the executive planning about turning into intersections. We just don't need to go there. Between in where we live, ride shares, family members, Connor has all of the freedom he needs, and he can take himself to the barbershop. So if I can avoid it for him, and I think he's comfortable, as long as Connor can get around, he's very happy. So we've opted not to drive for his safety and for the safety of others. Yeah.
Pretty much the same scenarios. Yeah. Your turn.
Oh, okay. That was a question. Okay, cool. My other message that I selected, it's a funny YouTube username. So I'm just going to call her Marge because that kind of seems like a Marge. And Marge says, the first episode of your podcast had me in tears once, the second one in tears twice. I can't even keep track of how much I've cried this last time. And it's not bad. It's just a very relatable feeling. Thank you for doing this. So many moms need something or someone like you two in their lives. I'm a single mom. That's why it kind of touched my heart. Of three, two of the three with disabilities. She also works in special education, and she can relate to both of us in so many ways. Just wants us to keep doing what we're doing, and we're making a positive impact on so many. And again, I think it's just being seen by, I have obviously the affinity toward the single moms because I wore the t-shirt for 5 years, and I know that life, and it's hard. It just adds a layer of difficulty on in an already complicated situation. You have two of your three children with disabilities, and then you're also a special ed teacher. So from so many lenses, I appreciate you chiming in and seeing us and understanding us and getting the message that we're trying to send of just support, love, come on in here. Let's all just learn from each other. And also as a special education teacher, liking kind of the platform that Nikki and I are starting to carve out. So thank you so much, Marge. I appreciate you, wishing you and your kids all the best. And those were kind of my picks, Nikki. Did you have any more?
I have one more I think I wanted to share, and then do we want to move on to the other stuff that's on the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, one and a half, kind of. Okay, because one's funny, and it involves you and Connor too. Lady, and this is from a user. I don't have her name. It just says Bridal by Court. So I'm assuming maybe she's a Courtney. Um, Ladies, your podcast means everything to me. I'm a 30-something mom to a 5-year-old boy with autism. Your episode sharing your diagnosis stories was not only helpful and relatable, but it also made me so hopeful. We are 18 months into my son's diagnosis, and I appreciate your stories, your vulnerability, and your advice. From your lived experiences, you are helping so many of us who are in that same spot that you were many years ago. If you ever had a moment where you wish you could go back and tell your younger self that everything was going to be okay, you are giving that gift to all of us. And I am grateful to feel so seen and so heard. There it is. That's
We can
why we
turn
did
this
it.
off right now and walk away.
Done.
If we gave that one mom that one moment,
Yep.
we could
We're
turn
good.
this off
All right.
and walk
Happy
away.
Easter.
Because
Bye,
like
everybody.
right now, you are the parent. You're the reason we are out here. Thank you for that. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much for that. It means the world. Okay, I'm going to look up and make sure I'm saying this right. All right, the other one, and this one to me is it's fun. Okay, I believe her name is Mary Neal. She sent in asking just totally in a just she's wondering what we think. If we are offended or bothered by, I believe, I may be mispronouncing his name. It's Nav Razvani. His username is Turn to Nav, I believe. Nav. I'm not sure if you say Nav or Nav. I don't
or
want to
whatever.
mispronounce anyone's name. I don't get upset when people mispronounce my name, but some people do. So anyway, And she said, are I was just wondering, how do you guys feel when videos like this surface? She said, I personally am not offended by it. And I don't think my son would care at all if she has an autistic son. He'd probably just critique it and correct the person and tell them what they're doing wrong. But she said, I've gone through the comments and there were many people that were bothered by it. This is going to segue well into the rest of the thing. This is just Nikki speaking for Nikki and Tanner. I showed Tanner. Not only are we not bothered, we are like, you are freaking hilarious. This is the best thing I've ever seen. And it's also mind boggling to us that somebody knows we still can't quite wrap our minds around that someone, a creator online, knows who he is enough to want to imitate. That just still feels, and I have always lived by imitation is the highest form of flattery. If someone's doing what you're doing, they must they must think about you. They must think something. I think he's unbelievably talented. I think he's spot on. And I would love he and Tanner to have a conversation back and forth. I think that would be hysterical if he could like be Tanner and talk to the real Tanner. So I love it. It does not bother me in the slightest. There, honestly, I'm not really that easy to bother, but that certainly is not what bothers me at all. That guy is talented. I love him. Elise, what's
Yeah.
your take?
Okay. So same exact thing. So I'm not going to lie. It was a different person. He's a Canadian guy. I think his name's like Adam and my daughter sent me that one first. And,
Uh-huh.
Obviously I think a lot of people are starting to pick up that Connor has a vocal stem.
Mhm.
It's something he does. It's just, he's always added a sing-songy pause or
Yeah.
and it's funny because when we say, "Hey, Connor," you just say that over, you want to fix that, and he'll fix it perfectly. But so that's interesting. So when I saw the first gentleman, not this Naz gentleman, I don't his name is, um, I did have a moment of like, whoa, wait a minute. But then I did see the comments and I saw his caption where I love this guy. And then this particular gentleman was very wonderful and messaged me and said, if you and your family are offended by this, like we'll take it down. And I thought, so I showed Connor that and I showed him the other gentleman and Connor laughed his socks off. I mean, Connor, it was great. He took it and he thought it was fine. And again, we follow Connor's lead. If he's insulted,
Right.
no one's going to disrupt his dignity or insult him. And if so, we will, but we showed him and he was fine with it. And also I loved that I genuinely think it's coming from a place of they enjoy our voice. I don't think they're not poking fun. They're not being mean.
Absolutely.
And as long as I'm looking at their spirit and their intentions and our family was fine with that. I was also very touched that the other gentleman offered to, hey, if this is offending you, I will literally take this down. And that in and of itself was just very respectful. So no, our family, we actually have a sense of humor. We're all pretty sarcastic in our house, and we all and guess what? Connor can come with the zingers too. So
Yes.
um, we were not offended. But thank you for asking, and thanks for getting it on your radar to circle the wagons, but we're good over here and talk to me, Sisland.
Absolutely. I'm going to stop saying absolutely. I feel the same.
Which might segue to our next topic.
It's the perfect, that is absolutely the perfect segue to our next thing that we felt like we needed to address. So, wrapping up the DM content, y'all, please hear us when we say we see them, and the emails. We both have some together, some apart. We have trips in the next 2 weeks, the Tomlinsons and the Smiths in South Carolina, and we are just trying to stay, just trying to get everything done that we can every day and stay ahead of the game. We will get back to you and we appreciate you caring enough to message us. You matter, your thoughts matter, your feedback matters. We're learning from you. We want to give you what you want to hear. So thank you. So that's going to wrap up our little DM session for now. Please be on the lookout for answers. We will do this again. And Elise, do you want to take us into our next
Do.
part?
I do actually. Okay. So I devour comments and read comments and I look at things and much sometimes I shouldn't, or it's hard to switch off. I was reading comments on the most recent section of our dad's podcast. And um it's something that we had both noticed, and some of the earlier episodes in our series were filmed sort of end of last summer, early fall, right, Nikki? So we were
Uh-huh.
we are still a bit clueless, um, so I'll admit, but we hear you, we interrupt each other, we overspeak, we hear you. It's a running theme, and I've heard it. And I also, when I listen back to these podcasts, I'm usually in my car. So if you're watching on YouTube, I think it's a little bit of a different experience. Um,
Mhm.
but I want to come at this by starting off by just saying we we're not reporters. We are not seasoned, trained interviewers. We're just a couple of moms who've been ripped from the shadows kind of by messengers, people who DM'd us on our platforms. And we came out because you asked us to. This is scary as all get out. I'm completely a fish out of water here. I don't know this world. I'm not in journalism. I wasn't trained with PR or any of this stuff. So we hear you. We heard it. We did. We got the feedback, and I hope this episode we are working our tails off to not talk over each other. And I think when you see us, the other one's trying to say yes, I think we're trying to act like we're in a room together and being polite conversers. It doesn't work in this format, and we get that. We're hearing it. We understand the other one needs to just shut their mouth, and we're trying to shut our mouths. My own father said something to me. My dad's listening to this now. Hi, Dad. And he said to me, your ADHD is getting in your way. You need to back up. Stop talking so much. So, can everybody out there take a huge sigh of relief that Nikki and Lise know we are interrupting each other, over speaking, and we are going to make our commitment and promise to you that we're going to stop that. But Nikki, do you want to add anything else as to why? Because you had some reasons why.
Well, and yeah, and we want y'all to know too, like hearing it, and it was said so nicely, and no offense taken. We really want to be better and better and better. So we're so open to constructive criticism. That is fine. And I think it made me laugh because the first thought that popped through my mind was we're both, I guess, fairly big personalities. We're both outgoing. We are passionate about why we're here. We're both excited about this opportunity. We like each other. We don't get to see each other in person very often. So it's kind of like a girlfriend catch up time when we are together. And the other thing, we're both used to running a big ship and sort of being the director of a complicated, multitasking big family. And we're both kind of used to, you do this, you do that, go here, think in one jump ahead. So all those traits, I think, come into it. And all those, those details just all add up into us kind of being a little bit like ready at the jump to say the next thing. And like someone said something about, particularly me, finishing people's sentences. And I know I did it with the kids. I think that bad habit comes from years and years and years of working with Tanner on communication and prompting his verbal, exchanges and working with him to help him find his words. And people say when I'm in videos with him, my mouth moves when he talks. That is literally from years and years and years of him not having a full verbal repertoire to work with, and me being very expressive and overly demonstrative in his face, trying to help him find his conversational skills. So, and that I'm just that, but that's just like the background, I think, of why we have that tendency. But I felt like we did pretty good today.
I'm giving a thumbs up because I didn't want to speak, but I think because again, I've listened to several episodes and we recognize our usual shtick, the way we talk in our normal lives, isn't working in this format. We're hearing you. We don't want to frustrate you. We want you guys here because forget Nikki and Lise for a minute. We've got some really exciting people lined up coming
Yes.
this summer that we're excited to share with you. We're really going to shut up and listen because,
Uh-huh.
again, we're not experts in the field of autism. We are Connor and Tanner experts. We are here kind of at a lot of people's request. And this is uncomfortable. And you guys, I just want to say thank you to those of you who are receiving us in a positive, supportive manner, because this is our hearts on the line. This is personal. This is this is me and Nikki, and we're humans. We're moms, we're wives, we're daughters, we're sisters, we're friends. And but we're human beings with hearts and feelings, and we aren't just these people on your screen or in your ear. So the love and supporters that are coming out for us in a positive way, thank you, because it's not always been that, and it hasn't recently. And I don't know if Nikki, if you want to kind of lead off
Mhm.
into just something else that we wanted to share.
Yes, we do. Definitely. We know that just like they say, with a larger platform comes larger um, complications. I'll use that word, and more things to be cognizant of and deal with. And, we've definitely had difficult things thrown at us recently. And Lisa and I our only desire is to be as thoughtful and as kind and as just relatable as we possibly can be, but we cannot control what goes on around us. So the only thing that we want to make very clear for anyone who's a new listener is we are going to restate the purpose of our podcast and why we are doing this. I, Nikki Smith, am not an autism expert. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not an educator. I'm not a lecturer. I'm not a journalist. I'm not any of those things. And I am not trying to convince you, the listener or the watcher, to do anything. I am simply sharing my life and my lived experience of 26 years of raising a person with autism that I would say was moderate and now is probably more of a mild presentation of autism. And what I have learned along the way, what my family has learned, what it has done for those relationships. I also want to be a source of comfort. I want to be a source of peace. I want to be in a big sister role to younger moms. I have no other agenda with anything. I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. I simply wanted to share. And I was so touched by the way Tanner was received by the world. And then a lot of the communication that I personally got, that I thought this would be a great way to do that. And it's not always easy. And sometimes things take unpleasant turns. But let's go back to the root of why we're here. We are here to share our stories, be vulnerable, welcome y'all into our lives, and hope that that gives hope, peace, and motivation to other families. At least you
Absolutely.
take.
And I do want to just say we're here, we're being honest, we're being vulnerable, and we're sitting in here without judgment of anybody and anything that anyone
Anybody.
wants to say. And I would just want and ask for the same courtesy for our families. It's a brave thing that I think we have
Hmm.
chose to do. Um, I think us, I want to be as honest and as vulnerable in this space, and especially about the early years. And there's things I've seen comments that have been misconstrued and taken out of context, and they're
Yes.
hurtful. I'm not going to lie. They hurt me. They hurt me deeply. This is my child. This is my family. This is my son. But these were my feelings. And I'm saying them out loud, even if they're not pretty and and politically correct or acceptable, because I want another mom out there like the one that wrote to us today. If you're feeling this in the cold dark night when you're in bed at midnight and you're worried and you're feeling what you said, I don't want you to feel bad. I don't want you to feel like you're a bad mom. I'm not a bad mom. I'm thank God I'm confident enough to know I'm not a bad mom. Nikki's not a bad mom. You're not a bad mom. We're being honest, we're being vulnerable, and we're coming here without judgment, and we don't want anyone to feel that back. And we're also here to hopefully let everybody feel seen and heard in a respected way. But again,
Yes.
we are here to be honest, vulnerable, not judgmental, and not act like we are professionals telling you what you should do. We're sharing our experience, and then we can only hope to bring in some exciting people who are
Yes.
smarter than Lisa and Nikki,
Yeah.
who do have a better piece of advice or maybe a tool. If we can be the conduit to help with that, we're here for it all day long. And guess what? We may have some episodes that are nothing to do with autism and just out here for fun. We're not here to be anything other than who we are, share our lives, share our experience, share our families, and we're coming with peace and love to you. And we're grateful and thankful for the ones that are coming back to us with peace and love. And the other ones who don't want to be that, well, you know what? With peace and love, there's the door. And you can use it. You don't have to be here. You don't have to.
100%. And, I will add on one little thing to that last statement. I don't care what mean comment I read. I don't care what assumptions people make about me because they have heard one thing that they have absolutely no basis for. I'm not for anyone going to change my lived experience. No one but me was Tanner's mother during the early years. I gave birth to that kid. I breastfed him. I raised him. I took him through therapy. I was the one who loved him and championed him and advocated for him. I saw when his signs and symptoms came on. I know his life. I know his story. No one knows him better. Literally, not even Mark. And I will never change my lived experience because it makes someone else uncomfortable. I also don't, if you don't like my lived experience and my story isn't helpful to you, that's fine. No worries at all. I may not be the person for you to listen to, and I don't mind that at all. I don't enjoy everyone's take on life either, and that's okay. I just quietly go to where I do enjoy it. But I just want to say that to vilify or throw stones at someone's honest recollections when all they're doing is sharing their lived experience and hope that it's helpful is really, really mean and unnecessary. So, as Lee said, if we are not your girls, if you don't want to talk to us, sis,
Get on down the
there,
road. It's fine with us.
there are
Listen, what I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. And it's not my quote, so I'm gonna tell you whose it was. I believe it was Marilyn Monroe, and I love Marilyn Monroe.
I do
Marilyn
too.
Monroe said, "You can be the sweetest, juiciest, most wonderful peach in the orchard, but not everyone likes peaches.
Absolutely. And when I
If
said
we're
absolutely,
peaches and you like apples, go to an apple orchard." What do you say?
amen.
Is there anything else we missed?
I think that really covers it. I do want to say we're probably going to do a few more. A lot of people are asking us to get more in depth about Tanner and Connor's school years, like actually where they went and what it looked like. We're going to try to get that episode together very shortly, but hang on to your hat. We have got some cool, cool people coming on. We have an Enneagram coach coming on. We have a barber who specializes in working with kids on the spectrum to help them feel comfortable getting a haircut, who has an amazing story and platform. Parents who, to me, need to be celebrated, lifted up, shown all over the world. Everyone needs to listen to them. I mean, we can go on and on and on. So it is not always just going to be Lisa and I talking to each other and to you. We are going to bring in other people. And like Lee said, we are going to sit and be the listeners because I want to hear other people's stories. That is what this is all about. And it's about broadening all of our experiences and learning from each other and learning to say, wow, that is amazing what they've been through. Instead of having any type of judgment, cheering them on and saying, you are so amazing. Good for you. Look what you did. That's the feeling I want to put out in the world. That's what we are trying to do. So if you're with us and you enjoy that, keep
Stick
listening
around.
because we're going to stick around. We'll be here.
I just interrupted.
We
That was
will.
the first one, I think.
We
We're
can have
working on
one.
it, guys. We hear you. We see you. We're listening. We're trying. We're learning. Just thanks for being on the ride with us and taking the rough with the smooth. And are we ready for our little sign off? I think with that,
I believe we are. Okay,
we need it.
do you want me to give the little blurb?
Yeah, I forgot. This is why
Okay.
Nikki keeps us straight. Go ahead,
All right, here
Nikki.
we go. First time remembering to add this on. If you liked hanging out with us today, do us a favor, hit the follow button, leave a rating, and drop a quick review. It helps way more than you know. And if you really loved it, send it to a friend who needs to hear this. If you are interested in sponsoring a future episode, please send us an email at talktomesismail@gmail.com. And that wraps up our DM open heart sharing catch up episode. I guess that's what we should call it.
Absolutely. And again, I'll say it. I said it too soon, but we love you, mean it.
We do love you, mean it. Thank you, all of you. Have a great week.